Well, hello. Hi, I'm Deb Lane with the City of Santa Rosa Utilities Department, and I'm part of the Water Use Efficiency team. And I'm here today to show you how an irrigation system is configured. So where we're starting is what we call the irrigation manifold. Manifolds can have a little bit of different configuration. In this case, we have 5 valves, and they're stacked all in a row, and these are anti-siphon valves. They actually protect the water supply if there was ever a sudden loss of pressure upstream and the irrigation system was on. These have a way of actually stopping the water from going back into our water supply. And these are very typical. We see these on residential homes, and this is the anti-siphon portion of the valve right here. And it has to be 12 inches higher than the area it's irrigating because it uses a pressure differential to protect the water if there was a case of water of a backflow event. Now all of these valves are equipped for drip irrigation. This is a filter and this is a pressure regulator, and I don't know if you can see it, but it says 30 psi, which is pounds per square inch. This is what's required to have a drip irrigation system. In a moment I'll show you what we would be irrigating, say lawn or an overhead spray system that has higher pressure, but when you're using drip irrigation it needs pressure regulation and filtration because the apertures of those drip emitters are very small and the tubing is fit together using compression. It's not glued. So here we have a configuration of 5 drip valves, and they're going out to respective areas in the landscape. When I turn one of these valves on, then water's going to come on in a certain area, and we call that an irrigation zone. So it's important to match the plant types that have the similar amount of water requirement to the irrigation zone, and to make sure that everything is drip in this case because the water's coming out at the same rate. We don't want to see sprays and drip coming on at the same time when we turn on an irrigation valve. So let's now go back into the backyard and take a look at the manifold back there. Okay, so now we're in the backyard, and here are 2 more of these anti-siphon valves. In this situation, we have one that's drip, and you can really see clearly the filter and the pressure regulator. It's regulating at 30 psi. And you can see this one does not have a pressure regulator or a filter. This is for a high pressure for a spray system, and in fact it's going to turn on the turf, the lawn, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. So in order to turn these valves on, there are usually 2 or 3 ways you can turn them on. The first way we'll talk about later, and that's the most common way, is at the controller. These are electronic valves, so these wires actually run back to the irrigation controller. And when you turn it on, a signal is sent, lifts a little pin up, and it allows water to start to open up into the valve. There are also usually 1 to 2 ways to turn a valve on manually. I'm going to show you that today. On these valves, this is the most typical way you're going to do it. This is just an on-off. And you just turn it the way follow the arrow to turn it on. Sometimes on older valves, they don't have this type of an on-off, and this is called a bleed screw. Be very careful. If you turn that on, don't open it up too far because that screw is going to pop out, water will not stop running, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get the water off. So be very careful when you turn the valve on using the bleed screw, and don't be surprised when you turn it on if water comes out a little bit. Let me show you that. The valve turned on, and it's going to keep dripping water. That's common. If you're going to turn a valve on manually, always use this on-off device right here. You won't waste water. It operates smoothly. That irrigation is on now. It's drip, so you don't hear it. That's how you know a drip system is running well. You listen with your ears. Do you hear leaks and breaks? You walk around and listen. So this one sounds good. Okay, now let's see what happens when we turn this valve on and to see what area it irrigates. We're going to turn the valve on right here at the valve, not at the controller. I'm going to use this on-off. I'll turn this on, and then the camera's going to pan and show you where the water comes on. In fact, why don't you pan the camera now, because we know it's going to turn the lawn on. No water right now. And here I go. I'm going to turn this on. Voila! And now I'll turn it off. So it's important when you try to understand your irrigation system to either at the valves themselves, turn them on, and then walk around your landscape and see where the water comes on. It might be drip, then we're hoping if it's built properly you're going to see something like this. It isn't always built this way. You'll see every kind of configuration out there. Nothing surprises us anymore. But when you turn it on, listen, look, walk around, see where the water comes on. If you're trying to identify to do some type of an irrigation or plant change out, then it's going to be important to understand how your valves, your zones are configured. So in this case, we would mark these two valves in the back of our site map, and we would say number this number 1, and that corresponding turf area that came on would be number 1. So we know what's coming on where. So here we are at our 5-valve manifold, and I wanted to show you how the system's configured with regard to the wiring. So, as I said, these are electric valves. These two wires are connected. One's connected to a common wire, and each wire has its own individual hot wire. These groups of wires, you can't see it too well, but they go down and they run back under the ground. They come down here to this irrigation controller. You can see that, and this is all wired inside the house, so you can't see the wires out here. But those wires come back into this unit, and there are terminals in this unit where those wires are attached. And that's why when you program your irrigation controller from here, this is the brain of the system. You're able to turn your valves on manually here, if you want to turn them on to be able to identify where the water's coming on. Or this is also where you program the controller to apply the amount of water needed to match the plant material, the weather, and how fast the water's coming out, if it's drip or spray. Turf Time, our Turf Time line on our website as well as on our telephone number will update you with the amount of time you need to run and program this controller based on weekly changes due to weather. It's a great resource to help you program this controller.